Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I've got a how-to video and it is how to make this jersey scarf. So I will insert some pictures of what the scarf looks like in more detail because if I step back you can't see it all that well. But this is a scarf that I mentioned in one of my recent What Have I Been Sewing videos and people were like, oh, how did you make that? So I'm going to tell you. Thing number one you need to know is the fabric, and probably this is the most important decision about whether this is going to be a successful project, because if you don't choose the right fabric you won't get the same effect. So this is viscose jersey. So viscose jersey is a fabric that has a lot of drape. So there you can see when I drop it, there's a lot of drape in that. And also the second important quality is that when it is cut into strips and then you pull it, you can see it's rolled in on itself, so it's naturally wider at the top and narrower at the bottom. So you don't have to use viscose jersey, but you do need fabric that is really quite drapey, and that it's really going to be a knit fabric, because when you pull it after it's been cut it rolls in on itself. So you can test that at the fabric store if you're shopping for fabric for this, because if you kind of just take the corner of your fabric at the fabric store, you don't need to cut it, just take the corner or the end and have a look, does it roll up on itself like that piece is doing? And if the fabric does, it makes it a bit more annoying to sew with, but for this project it works really well. So that is what you need. You need something that's drapey and you need something that's a knit that rolls when it's been cut. So when you have the right fabric, then the next thing you do is you get a piece of fabric that is the right size. Now I made this out of scraps and I like this project because it was economical and it was using up fabric that I already had, and that was the theme of what I was talking about when I first showed it to you. So my scarf is pieced. Now the overall size, I measured it because I just made it up by eye, but this scarf that you will have seen in the photos is 210 centimeters long, so from end to end 210 centimeters long, and at its deepest it is 45 centimeters deep. Okay, what you're looking for is a piece that essentially is flat at the top and then comes down to a point here. Now I made that with two triangles. Obviously there's two triangles there, so one triangle here and one here, and I have a join. I will find the join, here it is. I have a join right in the middle of my scarf. You can see it, but I made it a very, very small seam so that it was as invisible as possible. Now almost no fabric is going to be 210 centimeters wide. This is quite long, so the way I'm wearing it today, sometimes I knot these ends. When I don't, the tail does go below my waistline. In fact, it probably goes all the way down to my hip. So if you didn't need it to be as long, then you could probably just use the entire length of a 145 or 150 centimeter piece of fabric, and you would be able to get that without any join at all. Equally, if you're piecing together and you don't have two pieces, you've got three, or you've got four, that will work. What you need to do though is make sure that your joins are as small and as invisible as possible. So use matching thread, and I made a very, very, very tiny French seam. Okay, so that is what it looks like on the wrong side. Actually, is that a French seam? Did I do a French seam? No, I didn't. No, not a French seam. Told you a lie. It is just a really, really tiny seam. Let me see if I can get it to focus. That is then trimmed to about 2 millimeters maximum away from the stitching line. So I've stitched that with a very narrow stitch length because it will get seen. Basically, that is why I'm emphasizing that. So when you wear this, it's got all tangled, both sides of the fabric are going to be seen. So joins, if you're happy with that, I'm happy with that because I've got that in my scarf, but they will be seen, so be careful how you do it. The way I trim is I use a rotary cutter. Once I've done the seam, I will lay this down. You can see the light there. I will lay this down and then just because this is a see-through ruler, I love see-through rulers for sewing, you can see your stitching line and you get that as close as you want it to be. So whether you're working in millimetres or quarters of an inch or whatever, then you can roll your rotary cutter down here. You know you won't go into the seam line because you can see it and you're holding it still with your ruler, but you can get really close. You can do it with scissors, it's just trickier. I did this whole project with a rotary cutter because it's my preferred way of cutting, and I do think it would be easier if you've got the option, but there isn't anything that I'm describing that you couldn't do with scissors. You'll just have to, it'll be a bit of a slower process, I would say. So you have the right fabric, you have a piece that is the right size. If you're copying exactly, it's 210 centimetres long, and then it comes down to a point in the middle that is 45 centimetres from top to bottom. The next thing you need to do is you need to find your notes. The next and the last thing you need to do is basically cut strips. So if I show you the picture of how I did that, I essentially just ran the rotary cutter up. I did use a straight edge of the ruler because I didn't trust myself not to go bananas and for it to cut off one of the what would you call them, tassels, tails, so I didn't want to cut one off. And if I hold this up, you can see that I have kept more depth of uncut fabric at the middle, and I have kept less at the end. So for sort of 2/3 of one side, the tassels are about the same length as each other, and what differs is how deep the fabric is. So I think you can see there how I've cut that. And it was literally, I did experiment with whether I should cut narrow at the bottom and wider at the top. It was completely pointless because when the fabric rolls, it makes that shape for you anyway, so it was a total wasted effort. So I did try it out, but I wouldn't recommend bothering with that. Just literally cut up and up and up and up as I've shown you on the picture. And then the last step in the process is once you've done that, they will lie flat. Your fabric strips will lie flat, so you just have to pull them, run your hands along them a little bit, once or twice along each one, and they'll roll. And then you have a jersey scarf. Simple as that. So I hope you enjoy making it. I would love to see it. If you try this, show me on Instagram. My Instagram is @Sewy, of course. And I will see you again really soon with another video. Thanks very much. Bye.